Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today. I'm Angie Jackson. I'm the Talent Acquisition Manager here for Western Canada, and I'm with Debbie Austin. Debbie's a product owner with one of our global delivery centers located in Sherbrooke, Quebec. So we're quite a bit of a distance away from each other today. We've got Debbie here to talk with us today about her career evolution into tech, which is really very, very interesting talk. Debbie, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. How about we start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself and maybe briefly introduce your topic.
Sure. Well, thank you, Angie. First of all, I just have to say that it's a pleasure to be able to present at this year's Women in Tech Career Lab. And I really hope everyone enjoys the session today. And so to give you a little bit about myself, I've been with CGI now for about 4.5 years, and I have extensive experience in the insurance sector, as well as managing client relationships. So to go on a little bit about the session today, to talk about it. So the tech industry is a dynamic and rapidly evolving field that offers a multitude of career opportunities. Now, normally development is what's highlighted, but it's important to recognize the diverse range of positions that contribute to innovation and success. And one of those roles is the product owner role.
Indeed. So why is it important to consider these roles beyond software development in a tech company?
Yeah, well, roles beyond development, such as product ownership, play a crucial part in shaping the direction and success of tech products. So product owners are responsible for defining the product vision, managing the product backlog, and also ensuring that the development team delivers value to customers. So by leveraging unique skills, perspectives, individuals in these roles can drive innovation, enhance user experiences, and contribute to the overall success of tech companies.
That's pretty important work indeed. How about you tell us a little bit about your earlier careers? I know you've had very varied careers before you came here to CGI. You mentioned that they've supported you in bringing you into the tech industry. Tell me how that came about.
Sure. So I'm going to go way back to when I was really young. So when I was young, I wanted to be an artist or a nurse. An artist because I was a very creative person, still am, and a nurse because my mother was a nurse and I really liked hospitals. However, before she passed away, she had said, listen, if you're going into medicine, you're going to go all the way and become a doctor. So that was basically my career path. Like that was where I was focused on. However, as I was fishing sage up and I realized that, you know what, I needed a career that could give me a full-time job faster than, spending the 7 years going to medical school because I'd been taking care of myself, paying my apartment and that sort of thing. And so I was at a career, like a career kiosk. And anyways, I saw teaching and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. And I found out you could teach after 3 years of university. And that was my decision. I was like, yeah, okay. So I went to McGill and I graduated with a Bachelor's of Education degree. So from there, unfortunately, after graduation, there really weren't any teaching jobs at that time, unlike today. And so I continued my job teaching pre-K at the YMCA in downtown Montreal. But not long after, I actually moved to the Dominican Republic, where I worked in a hotel. And then from there, I went to actually taught in a private school for about 2.5 years or so. After that, I returned to Canada, still no teaching jobs, unfortunately. But that is where my career in the travel industry started, and that's where I remained for almost 24 years. So from those job experiences that I had before, what I learned was, especially working with tourists, I learned a lot about client relationships and definitely about managing expectations. From teaching, I learned good communication skills, active listening. You need great organizational skills for sure, and how to be adaptable. Because sometimes, you're a teacher, you need to change your teaching methods if one method isn't working. So you switch it up. Also, you need good problem-solving skills. And what that brings you is innovative ways to engage students. Now, working in the travel industry, from that really further developed my client relationship skills. And that's also where my experience working on IT projects started.
Very interesting. So tell us about your transition from that industry, or those industries, I should say, into tech.
Good question. So the time I was off work was actually right in the beginning of the pandemic. And at that time, we saw businesses and industries temporarily close, along with many employees without work. Now, at this time, I was also not working, but I decided to take more time off. And it really gave me a chance to finally reflect on the career that I want to have. Now, as I mentioned before, I've been taking care of myself, my apartment, my bills. So this was really a rare opportunity for me to actually take the time and to see, where do I want to see my career go at that time. Now, before the pandemic hit, I actually had other career opportunities. A lot of them involved traveling, which I really love to do, and as well as also working in the insurance sector to continue that way. Um, but, with the pandemic, that of course was no go. So as I was reflecting on the different career opportunities, um, I also noticed that with the pandemic, people were working from home. So, and IT was a big part of it. Now, also at the same time, I had a friend that used to walk by my place, and he had said a few times, he said, "Why don't you give your CV to CGI?" Now, at this point, it's important to note that with my past career as a business development leader, my focus was on managing client relationships, and my CV was geared to that. So I was thinking, what the heck can I add to my CV to get me into the IT sector? So I went back and I really thought about the IT projects I had worked on with clients. I had extensive knowledge of the insurance industry. And with that, because I had my individual and my group insurance licenses, and I had a specialty in travel insurance. I had also worked in the education and travel and tourism sectors. And so with that, I got to working on my CV and I submitted it to CGI. So at that time, I was really fortunate in that I had a wonderful director who worked in the Sherbrooke office, who received my CV and saw potential in me. She called me and said I had a lot of transferable skills and client experience, and suggested that I get certified in something that I'd be, passionate about, and let her know once I had completed it. So at this point, this was perfect timing for me because I wasn't working full time. So I ended up getting certified as a business analyst, and then I officially applied for a position on CGI's career webpage and was hired soon afterwards.
Terrific. Sounds like a great creative transitioning into tech. So tell me, what was your first role at CGI? How did you leverage all of that experience that you bring to the table to be successful in that new role?
Yeah. So my first role at CGI was actually not as a business analyst. It was actually as a project coordinator and a service delivery lead. And so what that was is that you're consisted mainly of maintaining end-to-end accountability for customer satisfaction, overall delivery excellence, and capacity planning of team resources. Then on that same client mandate, I had an extension and I ended up working for 3 months as a technical project coordinator. Now, I didn't need technical knowledge. And, the little bit tech information you need, you actually do learn on the job. And this role was to coordinate the timing delivery of projects. So with this one, the skills that helped me with that role were definitely time management skills, for sure, organization, client relationship management. And with my experience in the past working on implementing product launches and integrating systems, it was a great first mandate to have at CGI.
Sure. So how did your journey as a product owner begin?
Yes, the product owner role. So my role as a product owner started right after my first mandate was finished. And it was thanks to my current director who took me out of my comfort zone. I had also become certified as a Scrum Master, but I wasn't really sure I could do the product owner role. And I remember her asking me, saying, "Okay, for your next mandate, what type of role are you looking for?" And I went, easily, business analyst, Scrum Master. She was like, "Great, you'll be awesome for a product owner role." So, however, one of the key elements for the role was that it was for an insurance company. And I had nearly 24 years of experience in that sector and really knew it well. And so she could see where those skills could come in handy for that role.
Of course. So tell me, what does a product owner do?
Okay, so first of all, explain how a product owner fits into the project management team. So a product owner is part of a Scrum team. And so a Scrum team is basically a cross-functional group of people who are responsible for delivering products incrementally, usually over 2-3 weeks, using a Scrum framework. So you'd have your product owner, you'd have a Scrum Master. As I mentioned, that was something that I was certified in as well. And the Scrum Master facilitates the Scrum events and acts as a coach for the team, just like an overall general high level. Then you have the development team. So the development team consists of the actual developers, architects, quality assurance, the testers, etc. So with the product owner in a Scrum team, the main responsibilities are, so first of all, the vision and the strategy. So the product owner defines the product vision and strategy, ensuring it aligns with the overall business goals and, of course, the customer needs. Then you have backlog management. So the product owner creates, prioritizes, orders, and maintains the product backlog, and ensuring that the development team always works on the most valuable tasks. From there, another really important responsibility is stakeholder collaboration. So building those strong relationships with the stakeholders is essential. And as I mentioned before, like with my past, I have extensive experience on client relationship management. This is where it really comes in handy. So the product owner gathers requirements, gets feedback, and ensures that stakeholders are informed and engaged throughout the project. From there, another one, the product owner would be decision making. So the product owner would have to make some critical decisions. It could be about, a product feature, any scope changes, and maybe balancing some technical debt that you have to do, and then business priorities at the same time. From there, another responsibility would be user advocacy. That's right. So acting as the voice of the customer, the product owner ensures that the product delivers the maximum value and meets the user's expectations. And then finally, a little bit of performance monitoring that's done along with the Scrum Master. And, does the team need to make any adjustments as needed to improve the outcomes? So from there, basically with the responsibilities of the product owner, the skills that would be required would be good communication skills, analytical skills, leadership. You have to be really customer focused, negotiation skills. And as I mentioned before, the base technical skills, those can be learned on the job. So the product owner, when I said the technical skills can be learned, what they need to know what needs to be done and the why from the client's requirements. It's the development team that will take care of the how. So in essence, a product owner, bridges the gap between the development team and stakeholders driving the product towards success. And at the same time, this is also where having experience in, a sector can be beneficial. And so I'm going to back up a little bit too, because I've been talking about a product and I'm going to explain a little bit about it in, software development. So with products, usually you can take a product, you can put it into your hand, you can see it turn around, you can see the improvements. But with software development, it's a little bit different. And these are things you've probably heard of before. So some examples are mobile apps, web applications, desktop software, enterprise software, cloud services, games, educational software, security software, or actually it could be a project and you're maintaining a legacy system. It can be that as well.
So despite the fact that you can't hold it in your hand, very important products indeed for everyday life, for business life, for continuity. I understand that completely. So you started describing the project team. You talked about sort of the different players on the team. Can you differentiate, and I know you mentioned Scrum and Agile, can you differentiate between the key types of project management methodologies that CGI might use, for example?
Yeah, sure. That's another great question. So with project management, there are number of different methodologies, but what I'll do just for today, time's sake, I'm only going to explain two of them. So the first one you have we call it waterfall type of project. This is generally used for a less complicated project. And this is where probably many of you have seen this before, where, you get all the requirements, get them all documented, know what the scope is, and then you have development. And then you get to a point where, you go into production. Once you go into production, then testing's done. And then if changes or modifications need to be done, then it's like a phase 2, and you do the project again. When it comes to agile methodology, this is generally used for more complex projects. So with agile methodology, it's you could say it's more flexible, collaborative approach to software development. It involves iterative processes. So projects are broken down into short sprints. I know before I mentioned generally they're, every 2 to 3 weeks, but you can have sprints of 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or maximum up to 4 weeks. There's a lot of customer collaboration. So regular feedback from customers is very important. You got to be adaptable. The team needs to respond to changes quickly. Cross-functional teams are important too, because you need to have diverse skills within the team, and continuous improvement. So reflecting and improving after each sprint. So projects that are using this type of project management would use a project owner, so any project that has a Scrum team.
Terrific answer there. And I think it really gives us a good description of how we might work in the context of various projects. You mentioned that the product owner role actually benefits from expertise in different industries, such as the industries that you've worked in yourself, Debbie. What would some other industries be?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So at CGI itself, we actually have a number of industries where we need expertise. And I'll give you an example of some. So you've got government manufacturing, banking, insurance, and that's where my experience comes from, transportation, logistics, energy, utilities, communication, to name a few. So with that, when you have a good understanding of an industry, what it can really help with is effective communication. So that could be, especially being able to communicate with stakeholders, clients, and the development team. It also helps with prioritizing and planning. So, planning the product roadmap. It builds credibility with stakeholders. And it also helps with strategic decision making. So if there's a regulatory environment, so awareness of industry regulations, ensures compliance, and helps in navigating potential legal challenges.
Wow. So really, wherever you come from, whatever industry you come from, there's an opportunity for you to leverage that experience in the context of what we do as an organization. That's terrific. So what other non-tech roles, Debbie, do you think would be possible for anyone coming into this industry?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, we're talking about Scrum teams. So you have the product owner, but a less technical role would also be a Scrum master, and you could have an agile coach. Apart from that, other roles could be project manager, business analyst, a product manager, as well as a UX UI designer. So that's somebody who designs web interfaces and works to enhance user experience. And then, it could even be HR, marketing for an IT company, or even an administrative assistant.
There are so many others as well. You consider anyone coming out of the business realm and business consulting, I think is also a really interesting role for somebody coming into tech. So let's get back to you a little bit. What do you like about consulting? What keeps you engaged day after day?
Wonderful question. Well, I think one of the things that really keeps me engaged and that I enjoy a lot, like throughout my entire career, is I really love working with different clients and building new client relationships. At the same time, each mandate gives you a chance to learn something new, and I love to learn. And that's the fun part. There's a satisfaction delivering value to a client and knowing that you and your team did a great job. And also, it's a chance to work with different CGI partners with each mandate, and it builds your internal network. And I have to say, I am so fortunate. I have worked with a lot of amazing, great colleagues, as well as now I'm still working with a lot of great colleagues.
Indeed, you are. I know some of them myself. So are there any final thoughts that you want to leave the audience with today? Because I think we're just coming up on question period, Debbie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Honestly, I would say really trust in your expertise and take the leap, because your experience is a foundation for new opportunities in IT.
For that. Words of wisdom. All right, I'm going to get to some of the questions, and we do have some really very good questions here. this is a question of a little bit of curiosity on my part as well. What would you consider to be some of the most challenging and some of the most rewarding aspects of being a product owner?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the most challenging parts of it is, it's part of this stakeholder engagement and making sure that their availability to answer your questions, because we're consultants and these are, people in other companies. So I'd say that's one of the biggest challenges. But at the same time, it's also one of the best things. So it's building that relationship, building that trust. Because when you get that tighter relationship, then you end up getting them engaged closer with you and working collaboratively.
Indeed. I'm going to go to another really great audience question for you here, Debbie. How to address a career gap on a resume and during interviews? Given the current job market, are gaps seen as a disadvantage?
I wouldn't say career gaps would be seen as a disadvantage. I think you can take that opportunity, and this is a chance to go and explore something that you want to do and to become get certified. That was sort of what happened with me when I was no longer working in my current job, like right at the pandemic. So I have that time to go and then to get a certification. So if there's something you are interested in exploring, that's like a wonderful opportunity actually to take advantage of that time.
Absolutely. Makes you more marketable, and it also expands your horizons in other ways, for sure. So Debbie, somebody here in the audience is thanking you for sharing your experience. So I'm extending that thanks. Could you tell us the particular business analyst certification which you acquired?
Okay, yeah. So for when I went to become a business analyst, first of all, a good site to go to is IIBA, and you start with an ECBA certification, and then you can move on with that. And so I got my ECBA certification, and that type of certification, it is a little bit intense. Like there's a lot to learn, but it gives you an incredibly good foundation to go into the business analyst role. And at the same time, if you're a member of IIBA, which goes along, you can get that as apart from your certification, there's a lot of resources for you as well that can help you with your job. It can help you, your job search and that sort of thing.
Debbie, there's a question here that I think I might address actually, because it does come very much from the recruiter's perspective. Given the current job market scenario, they're asking, what recommendations do you have to get a recruiter's attention or have better chances of being selected for an interview? So from my perspective, being a career recruiter myself, I would say to get the attention of a recruiter, the very first thing is your resume should really reflect the job directly. So a lot of people will have one resume and they'll send it out for a number of different opportunities, which is great. But if you can take the time to read through your resume and see how your relevant experience reflects on the job itself and the requirements of the job, you might want to tweak it a little bit to make it appear to be more relevant still. So I think that's a really important piece. Sometimes a recruiter will miss how qualified you really are because you haven't pointed out some key elements. I think that's a piece of advice that I would take myself if I was giving. So I'll have another one for you. Without local experience and referrals, what strategies can I use to transition into the local tech scene, build credibility, demonstrate my value in the community, and increase my chances of securing a job?
Wonderful question as well. I don't think it really matters where you've worked. I think it's your experiences that are really important. And so I think highlight what you've been responsible for. What have you done in the past? That shows your skills. What have you learned? If you have worked on a project, what was it about? What software, what were you using? Putting those key points in. And as you mentioned, Angie, too, I think it's really good too. You really take the time to go over your CV and really highlight all the elements or the items that you've done. And soft skills count too. That's another one that's really important not to forget as well. So I hope that answers the question.
Indeed, I completely agree with you on the soft skills side. And soft skills just isn't the ability to communicate, right? It's the ability to build rapport. It's the ability to kind of have a dynamic interaction with someone and meld with them or find that bit of chemistry, especially if you're talking to someone outside of your organization, like a client. So these are all the areas of skill, I think, that are really important to develop and to consider, for sure. So tell me, in the role that you're in right now, what would you say has been your biggest learning experience?
My biggest learning experience. I would say that, you know what, you don't have to do it all by yourself. So I think people may think the product owner role, yes, you're responsible for putting all the product backlog items in there and doing out, but to create all that for maybe a technical type project or that, you don't have to do it by yourself, and that you work as a team. And depending if you're doing a development type project where you're developing an application or a platform, it might be not needing as much tech information. Yes, you can go, but when it gets highly technical, use your architects, use your developers, saying, okay, we got to do this. This is the what and the why, as I mentioned. Can you help me a little bit on the details for a little bit more in the how we can explain it to the team? Because you are working as a team. So that's really important. You don't have to do it by yourself. Also, ask colleagues, ask someone else, in a similar position too, if you need any help, or, you're passing some ideas around, you're not sure. So I'd say that's probably my key thing for that. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Absolutely. Great application of this common statement. There's no I in teams. So you partly answered this next question, Debbie, but I'm going to go into the beginning of the question anyways. Did you find the product owner role intuitive after your career transition? And the second part is, did you need to invest in understanding, which I think you just applied? Yes, invest in understanding, leverage the people around you who know that part.
Sure.
But was the greater part of that role intuitive for you?
Yeah, exactly. Before I had the role, I didn't think so, because I've been, one of my other mandates involved when I was placing resources was for many different types of projects. And some of them had Scrum teams and that. And I'd see the product owner role versus the Scrum Master. And I'd, got my Scrum Master certification. So at first it's like, no, but I have to tell you, again, when I got into the product owner role, it was intuitive. Like I just felt natural in it. I still do. I still promote it, hey, product owners, they're really important people as well. And I think it really, really does stem from all the experience that I had from past careers. Like I said, even being in the tourist industry, you're still working with clients. Sometimes you got to even negotiate with them, and you learn all those skills. And so, yeah, it kind of felt like that was the role for me. Plus the business. Oh yeah, actually, I think we have enough time. Just quickly. For a product owner role, if you are somebody who has analytical skills or you are an analyst, it goes well because you still have to get those requirements from a client, just like a BA would have to do, where, make sure they're clear and they're well understood. And then you take that and you explain it to the team.
Definitely. So I do have two final questions, and I hope we can get to it in the last minute that we have here, Debbie. Is there a product owner certification? And if there is, which is the most valuable in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I'd say the one that's really popular is a professional Scrum product owner through scrum.org. And that's the certification that I have. And you can get your level 1, 2, and I think they offer level 3 as well. And it's a great place for resource for information if anybody wants to learn about Scrum teams, or as well as more about the product owner role. And that's scrum.org.
Thank you. Thanks for that. So I'm going to try to get to the last question, but I am going to mention that there's a survey that we've put forward. So you're going to see a QR code come up shortly. It's your opportunity to give us your feedback on this session and any others that you've attended today. And it also will help us, obviously, to prepare for some future events. So if we get to this last question, I just want to thank you so much, Debbie. You've been providing some great insights today. I really appreciate having had this opportunity to speak with you. And from what I can see from the audience questions, they're also very grateful.
So thank you, Angie. It's been a real pleasure.
Yes, I didn't get to the last question, and I think our time is up.
There we go.
Well, again, thank you. There's that QR code coming up. Wish everybody a great day. Come join us in the booth.